The producer can sit empty 6 to 9 months at least. And the concern would be also this fall, if it starts to move rapidly again, that some of the breeder flocks, especially for the turkeys in Minnesota, is where, you know, the stock comes from to repopulate the houses around here, that there might not even be as much, you know, around to repopulate those houses. And the second scenario, or I should say type of house, is a large layer complex with the stacked cages, which presents more difficulty to handle because it's harder to depopulate those birds. We're researching alternative methods that would be approved methods of euthanasia in those houses. Right now, they have to manually take the live birds out and put them in gassing chambers with CO2. And that's the operation I was talking about. That might take 30 guys almost 2 weeks to get that completed. And then the option for disposal then is probably, you have to take them outside the house, so it'd be composting or landfills. And Kreider Farms is quite proactive. They already have some plans in place how they would handle that. And then you go back to the cleaning and disinfecting and all the other procedures before you're allowed to put birds back in again.
I understand the birds are stressed. I understand people can help to carry it once it's there and it comes in from the wild birds. But the one thing that I'm not sure about, and maybe you can add some clarity for me, is there any impact on humans? In other words, what would happen if a human ate a diseased bird unknowingly?
As long as they used proper methods, the same as you handle any normal chicken right now, as far as washing their hands and no cross-contamination, and cooked it to the proper temperature, there's no threat to human health.
Okay.
There hasn't been any. And same thing with consuming the eggs. As long as everything's handled properly, there is no threat. But just to reassure you again, there is no threat to human health on this issue. And none of those farms that have been, detected with high path on, it's been taken out of the food system as a precaution.
I think that's very good information for people to know so they don't panic.
Yeah, and what the department, we're looking at our regs a lot, and we did do a quarantine order requiring a 72-hour PCR testing. Yeah,
It's preliminary chain reaction,
Okay.
and it hasn't been in any of the states where they've had it in poultry.
No.
There have been no people getting sick. The farm families, all the people that have come onto these farms to help with the depopulations and the disposals, there's been no illness.
You gave us a map with all the known poultry houses, but because we have a lot of plain sex in the community, there are smaller flocks that you have not identified. If flocks are identified, how would you go about reporting those?
we have Dr. Nan Henshaw as our poultry specialist. They would have to contact the Department of Agriculture, and she would handle that.
Do you have a phone number or an email for her? The 772-2852?
Yeah, that's,
It's on my sheet too.
yeah.
That's sort of a general number for the department, or for our bureau. If you called and asked for her, they would just patch you right to her office.
Okay, great.
Now,
Thank
you're
you.
talking about the Amish. Now, the Amish do sell to the English, and so there's a lot of integrators that are working with the Amish communities, either buying their birds or buying their eggs. And so there is a connection that if we ever did break with an active disease, I think that we would work with our industry partners to find out where all those other farms are that may not be registered yet. And there is a big push right now to register farms with the department. And I think we've done a pretty good job, I think, of registering new farms that we may not have known before. But simply seeing the dots on the map, you can obviously see that this is a county with a sizable amount of birds, and a lot of people, if you think about how many people are employed at the plants alone, even if they're not raised here, they're coming here to be processed. And so any loss at any county would have a direct effect on Lebanon County alone, simply because of the people that are working in those plants.
When I came back here in 2008, I was assigned to that Avian Flu task force. That was for human
That was a
not,
human.
not for the animal portion. That was
Okay.
if humans got it. And then during that process, the avian flu part was sort of tailed off, and it was then called the pandemic
Right.
task force. And we keyed more on the human and that end of it. And I think fortunately, when we got away from the avian portion of it, we ended up with H1N1 swine flu. That's what we got involved with then in 2009 or 10.
Should we pull out the names that were on that task force and see if they're still willing to serve or if we have to update it?
Would leave it to your capable EOC here to review the plan and to make adjustments as necessary, just to follow up to see if the names on the call sheet are still there and still.
Yeah, some
available.
people can die or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just thought it was important to have that conversation with you, because according to what would happen here in the county, and then we'd be in response mode, that we need to all work together. And also, it's be handy for us at the Department of Agriculture to know what resources would be available in Lebanon County for deployment in the event that, we'd need them. Interested in working with 40 and Town Gap, because they have a lot of, tankers to haul water, and they got, the mobile pressure washers and everything.
If a house is down for 9 months,
Yeah.
how many cycles is that they would miss?
It depends if it was layers, broilers, or.
Broilers every 6 weeks, they would have a cycle.
So that's a lot of income issue.
Yeah, it would be a heavy loss of income.
Yeah.
If it was layers, it would be sizable because it takes 20 weeks from
Get it
hatch
back
to
up.
get a new flock in. What we call domino effect, or what we call a multiplier effect. For every dollar that's spent on the farm, there's about 7 that's spent elsewhere in the community. And so not only does it hurt the farmer, but it hurts everybody else who depends on the farmer to spend that dollar. Penn State Extension is pushing out to all of its 67 offices in the Commonwealth this fact sheet that has the call-in numbers, and you've got a copy before you. It has the call-in numbers for all of the diagnostic laboratories, as well as all of the regional veterinarians that are part of the Department of Agriculture. So that's really important, because sometimes we have to sort out fact from fiction. Is this a real disease, or is this bird just sick because it's, it ran into the side of the coop or something? So